Hey guys, Redneck Mini 14 here. So recently I put out a video on the 360 Buckhammer and whether or not it was going to be a dead round in 5 years. And I got a lot of feedback on that video, and to me it just seems like there's a lot of haters out there on the internet. Not necessarily with just the 360 Buckhammer, but with any new round. It seems like everybody is just so against all these new rounds being brought to the market, and that there's just no place for them, and that they're either already dead or they're going to be dead in 5 years, blah blah blah. And they don't really think, why were these rounds invented? What's the purpose of them? It seems like a lot of people just give their opinion because they just don't like something, and because they don't like it, then nobody else should like it, and they have to completely tear it apart in the comment section or in their own videos or whatever. I like to try and base my opinions and my predictions on things like this off of facts. And so when I made that video, I was giving a lot of facts on the round and giving my opinions and my predictions on what will happen with the round in the future. I explained that there seems to be more and more guns and ammunition becoming available for it throughout the course of this next year, and that was a big talking point for that. The whole straight wall cartridge hunting states, that's a big talking point, and as long as those laws are still in effect, that's obviously going to keep the round alive. The ballistics between the 360 and the 350, and what other people's opinions are on those two rounds. I mean, I presented a lot of facts and some opinions as well, and I based my opinions on that. But I got a lot of feedback on that video, and a lot of people are saying that the round is already a dead round. And I really just want to know, like, what do people think that a dead round is? Like, what classifies a round as being dead? Because a lot of people say that the 30 Super Carry is a dead round, even though it's not really a dead round yet. A lot of people say that the 40 Smith & Wesson is a dead round, and that is very much still a popular round, and it's still, you still have guns and lots of ammo being made for it. Even if it's not as popular as it once was, it's not a dead round, and if you don't like it, that doesn't make it a dead round. So I see the same thing with the 360 Buckhammer. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean that it's a dead round. So I'm just going to address a few of the comments that I got. So one of the comments I got was that it was, it's a round. The 360 Buckhammer is one of those rounds that was made because of silly laws, and because of that, it makes it a dead round, or it's going to die very quickly. And I really don't see how you figure. So yes, I do believe, I am going to agree that those straight wall cartridge restrictions, they are dumb and silly laws, but they still exist. And that person's response was, if we put more money into trying to get rid of these silly laws, then we wouldn't have to have rounds like this. Well, that may be true, but I don't see that ever happening unless you see a really good big civil war happening where the citizens of this country just totally annihilate the government and we totally restructure the government, which I don't think will ever happen. Unless you see that happening, you're never going to get rid of all of the laws. You might get rid of a few of them, but I don't think you're ever going to get rid of all these laws that you think are so silly and stupid, and would prevent rounds like this from being made. So it's just the fact that the laws exist is the reason why rounds like this and the 350 Legend exist. But does that make them bad rounds? Does that mean they're going to die? No, not necessarily. Does that mean they're going to live forever? No, not necessarily. So there's that. And with that, someone else, actually a few people, always seem to mention, other rounds that have been around for a long time. So they say the 360 won't do anything that a 30-30 won't do. And sure, that's true. 360 won't do anything that a lot of other rounds won't do. But guess what? A 30-30 or a 35 Remington, they're not legal to use in those states. So therefore, the 350 Legend and the 360 Buckhammer were invented because you cannot use this. It's not a straight wall cartridge. And so people, they'll understand the straight wall cartridge thing, and you can't use the bottleneck of the 30-30 or the 35 Remington. They they seem to understand that, but they don't understand the other part of the equation, and that's the length. And they'll say, well, you don't need the 360 Buckhammer or the 350 Legend because we have rounds like 45-70, 38-55, 375 Winchester. There's actually quite a few of them out there. 444 Marlin, 450 Marlin. We have all these rounds. They're all straight wall. So therefore, you don't need the 350, the 360, the 400. You don't need any of those rounds. Well, that's not true either, because all of these rounds, they're too long. The case restriction is that it can only be 1.8 inches. So if you compare the 360 with the 45-70, the 360, the case length is 1.8 inches. That is the maximum case length that you can have in those states. The 45-70 is much too long. The 444 Marlin, the 450 Marlin, the 375 Winchester, the 38-55 Winchester, all of those rounds are too long. So therefore, none of these rounds can be used. And so therefore, you still need a round like this if you're going to use it for deer hunting. And just to be clear, the reason why these rounds exist and why the straight wall cartridge exists is because in those states, I guess the theory is that the land is too flat and the areas are too populated, and therefore they don't want bullets to be flying for a mile, even though they still could. But that was the theory, and these states were previously only, you could only use shotguns, maybe a muzzle loader, things like that. And I guess they figure that these straight wall, short case rounds won't go as far as like a 30-06 or whatever. But, politicians are stupid, and they come up with these laws, and that's just what you have. Now, does that mean these are bad rounds? Absolutely not. These are actually really good rounds. They can do a lot, but a lot of people just like to compare things and say that because there's already rounds that exist that can do what these rounds can do, that means they're pointless. Well, that's not true. I mean, look at how many rounds exist out there on the market. I can guarantee you can do the same thing with one round as you can do with like several dozen other rounds that exist. Does that mean that all those other rounds are pointless? No. Everybody has their preferences. Everybody has different needs, and just certain rounds are just better at doing certain things than other rounds. So that doesn't mean that the other rounds won't do it. It's just that they don't do it as good. So anyway, those were a couple of the things that I saw. And like I said, I just don't understand where people are coming from when they're saying that the 360 Buckhammer is already a dead round when you still have more new guns coming out, you have more new ammo coming out. I mean, I've seen a lot. I'm part of a Facebook group, a Henry Facebook group, and it sure seems like there's a lot of people getting 360 Buckhammers, and most of them are pretty happy with them. And I don't know like how many people are getting the other guns chambered in 360 Buckhammer, like the BFR revolver. I don't know how many people are getting those, but I mean, those are still guns that exist. And there was one more comment that I do want to address, and this person said that the reason the 360 Buckhammer is going to die is because it is or at least what I got out of their comment was that it is a rimmed cartridge designed for a lever action, and it should have been a rimless cartridge that could be used in a bolt action. because there's rounds like the 35 Remington, that's a lever action round, and it's still a remless round, and so they should have went with something like that, and because it can be used in a bolt action. And my response to that is, when the hell was the last time you saw a new production bolt action chambered in 35 Remington? I mean, I'm almost 30 years old, and I'm quite certain that they haven't made a new production 35 Remington bolt action at least since I've been alive. Most 35 Remingtons were semi-autos, and some of them were pump actions, and then of course you had all the lever actions. I'm sure there were a few bolt actions out there, but 35 Remington just wasn't a round that was very popular in bolt action. It was more of a semi-auto, pump action, and a lever action, and of course a single shot. I don't think there were actually very many bolt actions made. And even with like the pump actions and the semi-autos, like, they stopped making those a long time ago. As far as I know, I don't ever remember seeing a new production semi-auto or a pump action in my lifetime, or at least when I was looking for guns in my adult years. But even then, I don't ever remember seeing like any used guns from that era either. I mean, like the Remington Model 8 and Model 81, like, those have not been around for a long, long time. And so with that being said, the 35 Remington is more of a dead round than the 360 Buckhammer. As much as that pains me to say, there's only one gun, maybe two, that exist on the market right now, a new production guns, that is, and only a handful of ammo manufacturers actually make ammo for it, and most of them only make one offering anyway. So the 360 Buckhammer's got, they only have two ammo manufacturers, or brands, I should say, making ammo for it, but they are going to have multiple options, both of them. So to me, that's a step above the 35 Remington in the current market. So, in my opinion, the 360 Buckhammer is not a dead round. I don't know why anybody would think that it's currently a dead round when it's still being produced in quite large numbers. And its popularity is growing. So I don't know how people figure that it's a dead round. People just don't understand the reason for it being made. Same with the 350 Legend or the 400 Legend. By the way, if we're talking about rounds that nobody asked for, I'd say the 400 Legend is a round that nobody asked for. But that's just a whole different story. The reason the 360 Buckhammer exists is because people wanted a 350 Legend in a lever action. And this was the solution. This is a better option as far as the round's design. It's just a better option for a tube-fed lever action. Now, somebody said, in one of my other videos, somebody said you could still make a lever action in 350 Legend. It would just have to be like a magazine-fed, like a box magazine-fed lever action, and that's true. You could do that, and I don't know why anybody hasn't done it. Henry actually might do it in the near future, but I don't think that's what most people were actually asking for. Most people, when they want a lever action, they want a tube-fed rifle. They got nothing sticking out the bottom of the gun. It's just, in my opinion, a tube-fed lever action is just a better gun. And in my opinion also, a lever action is used for a totally different purpose than a bolt action anyway. But that doesn't mean you can't make a box-fed magazine lever action and still chamber it in 350 Legend. That would still be a cool thing to have. I just personally probably would never buy one. I would probably go with a bolt action 350 Legend, and that's really why I have this ammo, is because I wanted a bolt action 350 Legend, and I still might get one someday. But that's just my opinion on the 2 rounds. 350 Legend, in my opinion, that's a good bolt action round. 360 Buckhammer, in my opinion, that is a good lever action round. And that is why the 360 Buckhammer exists. That's why I feel like the 360 Buckhammer will be around for a little while. Will it necessarily be around forever? Well, no. I don't necessarily think that any round will be around forever. Even the popular ones could go away in the future. Something else might come along. Something might get outlawed. As much as I would hate to see that happen. But it's a possibility. And because of that, certain rounds might go away that are currently really popular rounds. So there's really no way to tell. I'd really like to see the 360 Buckhammer do well. I think it will do well. I don't think it's going to do as well as 3030 or 4570 or even necessarily 350 Legend, but I don't think it's just going to be a dead round that nobody's ever going to buy just because most people don't like it. There's a lot of people out there that do like it and do want to see the round do well, myself included. So anyway, that's just my opinion on that. I don't think that the 360 Buckhammer is a dead round. Period.
Hey, before I go, I just thought I'd remind everybody that I do have a second channel called Redneck Off the Range. Over there, I post most of my non-gun related content, so whether it's a video on my new tractor, my power tools, my projects that I'm working on, maybe wild game recipes, or just a random vlog, I post all of this kind of content over on my secondary channel. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, go check it out, Redneck Off the Range. But that's all for this video, so subscribe to my channel, like me on Facebook. I'm Redneck Mini 14, and until next time, be safe.